The 2025 NBA Draft Lottery is nearly here, and the Toronto Raptors have a chance still of landing that first overall pick. So in this video, I'm going to give you everything that Raptors fans need to know ahead of May 12th. Let's get into it. Hello everybody and welcome back to Amateur Sports, the YouTube channel that is completely dedicated to providing you with Toronto Raptors content. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all that content, especially with the lottery less than a week away. There's going to be tons of great content coming from that. And make sure as well you like this video if you do enjoy along the way. But yes, going to give you all the information that you need to know ahead of May 12th when the NBA Draft Lottery is scheduled for 2025. The Raptors are one of the 14 teams that will be looking to secure that first overall pick, but it's not all lost if the Raptors don't end up with that first overall pick. There are a lot of different ways the Raptors can still get something great out of this draft lottery. We're going to cover that here in the video, starting with the process of which the lottery takes place. So yes, there is still a ping pong ball system that takes place. It takes place behind the scenes, and there are 14 ping pong balls, and 4 of them are going to be drawn. Now, in previous iterations of the draft lottery, you might have seen where each of the balls represents a team, 1 through 14. Hey, there's 14 teams. That's not exactly how it works. Each team is essentially assigned a certain amount of number combinations based on those 14 ping pong balls that are numbered 1 through 14. And really, only the top 4 picks are a lottery here. Any of the teams that are in the NBA Draft Lottery can move into the top 4. Now, each team has very different odds of landing in that top 4, but each team is assigned a certain combination of numbers based on those 14 ping pong balls. Once the top 4 of the draft has been ordered and decided, the rest of the teams are just going to be ordered based on their record and the reverse standings. So that's how it works. It's not as exciting or as glamorous as it might have been in previous years where you see the ping pong balls getting drafted potentially. But hey, it's still an exciting endeavor for fans to entangle with because there is the prospect, as always, of landing that first overall pick. They announced the pick order in reverse order from 14 down to 1. It's very often that the team with the 14th worst record is the team that ends up in the 14th position. But the Raptors aren't in the 14th spot here. The Raptors, where they situate here, they have the 7th best odds of landing the first overall pick. What exactly does that mean? It means that the likeliest spot for the Raptors to end up is the 8th overall spot. Because with every team's having that lottery system of ending up in the top 4 potentially, there is a likelihood of getting bumped a spot because a team rises up unexpectedly. I mean, we go back to last year where the Atlanta Hawks had like a 3 or 4% chance of landing the first overall pick, and they got it. They got it. And they drafted Zachary Riz-Achey with that pick, who definitely had a good season. Not a Rookie of the Year season, but definitely had a good season, but not your typical first-round pick caliber player. Like when Zachary Riz-Achey was selected by the Hawks superstar Trae Young was saying he'll be a great role player for us, which is not typically the term you assign a first overall pick. That's like your franchise's superstar. That is your generational talent you're going to build around. Well, 2025 is a lot different than 2024 because there is that generational talent available with the first overall pick. So what are the chances the Raptors actually end up with that first overall pick? Why is the most likely spot for the Raptors to end up actually the 8th overall pick? Well, let's look at the exact percentage chances the Raptors have for each of these spots. They have a 7.5% chance of landing that first overall pick, and they have a slightly higher percentage chance of ending up in any of the top 4 spots. 7.5% for first overall, 7.8% for second overall, 8.1% for third, and 8.5% for fourth overall. Now, the little quirk with this lottery system, with any team being able to move up into the top 4, is that the Raptors actually cannot, under any circumstance, it is impossible for the Raptors to end up with the 5th overall pick or the 6th overall pick. They were the 7th best odds. They have a 19.7% chance of landing that 7th overall pick. And the most likely outcome is the Raptors ending up with the 8th pick at 34.1% odds. Important to note, 34.1% odds means that it's more likely not they won't get the 8th pick. It is just the most likely outcome out of the draft based on these percentages. They have a 12.9% chance at the 9th pick, 1.3% chance at the 10th pick, a microscopic chance of getting the 11th pick, like microscopic, not even a 0.1% chance of doing that. They cannot get the 12th pick. 11th is the furthest they can fall. And again, it is very unlikely they would do that. It's also very, very unlikely they even end up with the 10th pick. So the expectation is the Raptors will end up in the 7 to 9 range of the draft. But there is still that 31.9% chance they do end up with one of those top 4 picks. And it's important to remember, when the Raptors selected Scottie Barnes with the 4th overall pick, they were also in the 7th spot in the reverse standings. And there's been a bit of a track record that teams that finished 7th worst have had a lot of lottery luck in recent times. What does that mean for this year? Absolutely nothing. It's just complete coincidence. All of this is statistical probabilities based on all of the combinations of numbers that can be selected from the ping pong ball lottery system. That's how all of this works. It's predetermined set of statistics that give us the exact percentage chance of the Raptors ending up in each specific position. So in 7.5% of the combinations that are possible from the lottery ball system, 7.5% of the time, the Raptors end up with the 1st overall pick. So for all the people, like I've seen people on Twitter making videos about this on YouTube where they run a certain amount of simulation to see how many times the Raptors end up in each specific position. Like, sure, you can do that for fun, but it doesn't really mean anything because, like, the more you run a simulation, the more likely you are to end up with the exact same percentages that have been already outlined for us here on the probabilities of the Raptors ending up in each position of the draft. So there's no sense in doing these simulations again because we know the percentages beforehand. We don't need to run these simulations to see, how often will they get the 1st overall pick when I run 100 simulations? Well, 100 simulations is a pretty small sample size. The more simulations you run, the more likely you are to have a 7.5% outcome of the Raptors getting that 1st overall pick. But all these numbers, what do they actually mean for the basketball? What do they actually mean for the Raptors on the court? Because, like I said, there is a generational talent available with the 1st overall pick. But there is a pretty large probability the Raptors don't end up with that 1st overall pick. So what sort of talent is out there for the Raptors potentially not with the 1st overall pick? So going into next season, before the draft even takes place here, I think the Raptors will expect themselves to be a playoff team for next season. They will want to start winning. They will want to be in the playoffs for next season. So naturally, it's already like a pretty solid starting 5. What sort of players can actually crack that starting 5 if the Raptors select them? So obviously, Cooper Flagg, the generational star, 1st overall pick, that guy's starting for your team. No ifs, ands, or buts. You're finding a way for that guy, surely, to be in the starting 5 for your team. If that means moving pieces, so be it. If that means demoting somebody to the bench, so be it. Cooper Flagg has got to start. Before we get into conversations, well, Cooper Flagg's this small forward, power forward. We've already got a lot of forwards. No. To a certain extent, talent over fit. I think that when you're in similar areas of players, similar areas of talent, you got to prioritize maybe fit a little more. Like maybe the talent's here for one guy and the other talent's here, but this guy fits a lot better. That might swing it a little bit where you just go for that guy and don't have to worry about the reshaping of the roster and the roster construction issues that come with that. But for the 1st overall pick, you ignore that. The 2nd overall pick is likely going to be Dylan Harper, point guard, shooting guard. That's also a player, absolutely, I think, is going to be in the starting 5 for the Raptors if he's selected. That's a guy you have to make room for. That is a guy that is going to be starting for the Raptors. Other than that, I don't see anybody in these lottery positions that I really, really want to start. Like Ace Bailey, very good player, likely 3rd overall pick at this point. Things can change, of course. Not sure he cracks the Raptors starting 5 as it's currently built. If RJ Barrett gets moved, maybe, but at this present point, the way I see the starting 5 of Quickly, Barrett, Barnes, Ingram, Pirtle, probably see Ace Bailey as a 6th man for that group. Other than that, top 3, I don't think anybody else starts for this team. I don't think that's a negative at the players. I think it's a positive of the talent the Raptors currently have on their teams, but there's still a lot of talent that could play very important bench roles for the Raptors moving through the near future. Where the Raptors are likely to end up based on these percentages is the 7th, 8th, 9th spot in the draft. And around that spot in the draft, somebody like Common Malawash is going to be potentially available. Center coming out of Duke, who I've already talked about in a video on this channel, who would be the perfect backup center for a guy like Jakob Poeltl. So as far as like starting level players for the Raptors, this present point, there might be only 2. But that doesn't mean any of the other players the Raptors could end up with based on their position going into the draft, it doesn't mean that those guys aren't going to be crucial for the Raptors as they look to playoffs for next season. As far as the lottery gods, whatever you want to call it, look, the Raptors tanked. They got a bottom 7 record. It's out of their hands at this point. Whatever happens, happens. Hopefully the Raptors move up as much as possible, but no matter where they end up, there's going to be a good player available that is going to be able to help this Raptors team. As long as it's not like 10th or 11th, because then that'll be really unfortunate. But hey, top 9 pick. There's plenty of talent available that are going to help this Raptors team. But it's always a nervy occasion for the NBA draft lottery. And hey, we can share those nerves together. I'm going to be live right here on Amateur Sports when the draft lottery is taking place. We can sweat it out together, get the live reactions together, and I can tell you about what sort of players the Raptors will be looking at in those positions. And no matter where they end up, I think you'll be excited about what those prospects may look like. So join me live on Amateur Sports for the NBA Draft Lottery Watch Party. I'll be live 30 minutes before the event takes place. Hope to see you there. Hope to see you for more content here at Amateur Sports. Subscribe to keep up to date with everything we have and drop a like if you enjoyed this video.